The air in the cabin was thick with the scent of damp earth and pine. Rain hammered against the tin roof, a relentless rhythm that had been going on for hours. Elias sat at the small wooden table, tracing the condensation patterns on the glass of a half-empty whiskey bottle. His flashlight, its beam, weak and flickering, was the only thing holding back the absolute darkness of the room. He'd lost power an hour ago, and with it, his last connection to the outside world. A sudden, sharp thump came from the cellar door. Elias's head snapped up. It wasn't the sound of something falling. It was a deliberate, heavy blow. He reached for the old hunting rifle propped against the wall. The action was stiff, but it still clicked into place with a familiar certainty. He held his breath, listening. The rain kept up its steady roar, but underneath, he heard a new sound, a slow, dragging noise from below. He hadn't been to the cellar in months. It was a cold, musty space, filled with forgotten things and the ghost of old memories. Now a cold dread coiled in his gut. Another thump, harder this time. The door rattled on its hinges. He crept towards it, the flashlight beam dancing nervously across the rough, hewn floorboards. The air grew colder as he got closer. He could feel it seeping through the cracks in the door. He pressed his ear against the wood. The dragging sound had stopped. Instead, there was a faint, wet scraping, like fingernails on stone. And then a whisper, so low and raspy, it was barely audible above the storm. "Elias," it rasped. His blood ran cold. The voice was his father's. His father had been dead for 10 years. "Elias." It came again, louder this time, laced with a familiar, mournful plea. The doorknob began to turn slowly with a series of metallic groans. Elias stumbled back, raising the rifle. "Get out," he yelled, his voice cracking. The doorknob stopped. A long silence followed, broken only by the relentless rain. He waited, his heart thundering in his chest. Just as he was about to lower the rifle, a long, pale finger, tipped with a black cracked nail, snaked through the gap between the door and the frame. It was followed by another, and then another, until a whole hand, gaunt and skeletal, was pressing against the wood. The hand flexed, and the wood around the hinges began to splinter. With a final agonizing crack, the cellar door burst inward. A figure stood in the doorway, hunched and shrouded in darkness. It was his father, but not as Elias remembered him. The eyes were black pits, and the skin was a sickly gray, stretched taut over a skeletal frame. Water dripped from his clothes, not like rain, but thick and dark, staining the floorboards black. It raised his hand, beckoning. "Come home, Elias," it whispered. It voiced a horrific echo of his father's. "It's cold down here." Elias fired. The gunshot was a deafening sound in the small space. The figure took the blast to the chest, but there was no blood. No recoil. It simply shuddered. A piece of wood splintering from its shoulder. It took a slow, deliberate step into the room. Elias fired again and again, emptying the rifle until the hammer clicked uselessly on an empty chamber. The creature just kept coming. A slow, unstoppable march of vengeance and grief. Elias dropped the rifle and scrambled backwards, his mind screaming. He was out of bullets, out of options. The creature stood over him, its black eyes burning with an ancient cold. It reached out, and Elias could see a faint luminous glow on the tip of his fingers. As they made contact, a wave of frigid air washed over him. A cold that didn't just chill the skin, but seeped into his bones, down to his very soul. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing he felt was the icy grip of his father's hand, pulling him into the darkness of the cellar, into the cold, damp earth from which he had come.